I know it's not what you want, but other people have tried it, other people have used it. That's why we had to back out of it. Okay, mounting the, we are going to talk some more, let's do something else. I don't want to go to, I want to stay on the cylinder head thing. Guys, they're not that complex. Cylinder head is not that complex. It's been set up, the ports are just about perfect for the size that you guys are running. It was set up for a 16 horsepower engine, so some people say, well, there's some flashing in there, there's some other things. We understand that. We understand that there's some sharp edges in there, but because of that, I'll pass this one around. This is one that got confiscated because somebody was playing around with it. You guys want, and let me pass another one around with it. Is there a socket anywhere? Let me see if I found it. What's that? Just like a 3/4 socket. I'm going to pop the valve out of this real quick. Guys, with a cylinder head, what you can do is, I'll just take a socket, a 3/4 or a 3/8 drive socket, 3/4, something like that. I'll pop these down. The springs will pop right off. I'll show you here in a second. And when I put it back together, I'll drop it in. I'll squeeze it this way, and you can use your fingers to make it happen. It's really, really simple. What I want to do is, this is my $650,000 piece of machinery that I made here. Maybe a little bit less. Simple. Go to Ace Hardware or something like that. Get a rubber plug, a little bit of copper fuel line like they use in RC. What I'll do is I'll put this in here. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Guys, normally I'll use a shallow one, but you can see it just comes off that easy. You don't need a spring compressor. And if I was going to put it back together, and I'll show you here in just a second, but what I want to do, if I'm putting it back together, I'm holding a finger underneath the bottom, I'm squeezing it, and it's back together. Just that simple. It takes you 2 seconds to do. So with this cheap little thing, I'm going to put it in here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little WD-40 or something like it, I'm going to spray it inside the bowl, and all I'm doing is making sure that the valves seal. It's the cheapest thing you can do. Simple deal. After I lap the valves, what I'll do, I'm going to pass another head around so you can see what I'm talking about. But what I'll do, guys, is I'll take the valves out, put a little bit of lapping compound on here, I'll push it through, I'll put a drill on this end with obviously the other valve gone, and I'll spin it. It'll seat it, it'll be good. I'll put it back together after I clean it all up. I'll use my little tool and see if any air is bubbling around it, I have a problem. I've got to go back and touch it up again. Otherwise, it's good as gold. It's just that simple. If you want it, maybe you've run it for a year and now you need to introduce it to, you've got to touch up the seats or something like that. This is something you guys can do. Or if it gets to the point where you just can't make it seal anymore, I think these guys are open to dropping it off. You guys will put a real machine on it, touch it up, and get it back to you. But to bring them the whole engine is a royal pain in the butt. This is what you guys can do, and most importantly, it's a chain of custody. You're holding on to your stuff. You know that it didn't go over someplace else, and you don't know what you got back again, which is huge. So I want to send this around as well so you can see the difference in. There's something that I feel for inside there. There's a sharp edge, and as soon as that sharp edge is gone, it's usually a pretty good indicator that somebody has played with a cylinder head. I know some of you guys want me to take a look at them, and I'd be glad to do that later today. But doing a valve job, you guys can do it. Buy an extra cylinder head and have it with you. Run it as long as you want. If you took it off and you tested it and it was still holding airtight, golden. Put it back together or put the other one back on and just maybe touch it up for the heck of it. And now that you know that it's fresh and solid, the biggest loss of power in these engines is in the cylinder head, in the valve start to leak. It's bad, it's not, it feels bad off the corner. Oh, well, okay. My suggestion to you is touch up the valves. I think your problem goes away. Anytime we go to a big race, I made sure that the valves were as good as they could be. And what you did, in other words, touching them up, making sure that they're good. Simple deal. Lapping compound, I'll put a little bit of grease on the valve stem, so I'm spinning it with the drill. You're not going to hurt the end of the valve by putting it on an electric or rechargeable drill. Spin it, touch it up, moving it back and forth, make sure it seals. The exhaust is probably going to be a little tougher to seal in the intake, and this is huge. Every time your racer comes off the track, have them reach over and pull it till it stops. Top dead center, TDC. You guys have heard the phrase before. Top dead center, what it does, it allows those valves to seat up against the ports and the seats that are there, and they dissipate heat. Exhaust gas temperatures in these things are 1,450 degrees, give or take a little bit. So that's a lot of hot air coming out. So now if you think about it, if I shut this off, the exhaust valve is still open, and I've got a pipe that is this long, and now the first thing that happens is cool air starts to come in. And I work that valve a half a thousandths. It'll never seal again. It can't seal itself. And so I lost power. It's still okay, but it's not as good as it needs to be. Top dead center, every time you come off the track, as fast as you can do that. I see people at every level, they're scrambling. They don't talk to the kid. The first thing they're doing is they're pulling into top dead center because they want that thing to seat as strong as they can. And two things. You're taking the pressure off of the valve springs. Valve springs will last you a long time, but if it's compressed and it sits for 4 weeks, you're probably going to take some of the energy out of that valve and its ability to return. So, another 1/4%. 1/4% with the valve springs. You don't need to change them, guys. Once a year, you're going to be fine. If you put stronger springs in there, you're going to create more resistance than, it's a tech spring, but if you put a different spring in it, you're going to create more resistance than you're going to gain. Because if you think about it, 6,100, any spring you get there. If you were turning 10,000, different story. But if you're turning 5,700, non-issue. Stay with the springs you have. The softer spring, honestly, is your friend, as opposed to something bigger. So as far as the cylinder head, we've talked about another 1/4% with the springs. Valve seat, or I should say, intake and exhaust valve lack of sealing is going to be important. So for you guys, just touch it up every once in a while, as long as you feel comfortable. Take it off maybe after 4 races. What do I have? Is this good? If it's good, wonderful. If it's not, okay, you know what, maybe I need to look at it more often. Maybe what did I do wrong? Maybe it wasn't quite sealed the way that I wanted. Again, I laugh, I say 600,000, 66 cents to make something like this, so you know exactly what you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that in. I'm going to take this, I'm just going to spray a little bit of oil around that valve, and I'm going to look at this one. I'm good on that. I want to show you guys what it looks like when it leaks. Perfect. I don't know who this is, but I'll show you guys what it looks like. See what that thing is? It's bubbling like crazy. And this is one that was running, and everybody thought it was fine. You can run a race through this thing. You can see what's flowing through there. Yeah, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's bubbling like crazy. Simple thing, and intake's usually not. Here's what happens. Aluminum expands at twice the rate of steel. So the problem that we have is you got an aluminum head, you got steel seats inside here, steel valves. The first time we put this brand new cylinder head through a heat cycle, like anything else, it's gonna equalize itself. Everything's gonna kind of settle where it wants. So I've heard from a couple people, well, we got junk heads, so Briggs has got a problem with heads. Well, not really. What happens is when it's brand new, you're going to see some variation after you run it for the first time. I would tell you, after you run it through a couple of heat cycles for the first couple of races, take it off, touch it up. That thing has kind of found its happy point. They're not going to expand and contract and move around anymore. Seat the valves the way that you want that, create that seal, and you're going to be good as gold. You're going to probably run for the rest of the season. If not, check it once in a while. But the simplest thing you can do is the test that I just did. All of the cylinder head cannot be manipulated. Some people have some concerns here. We're going to look at those later, but they can't be. What I'll do is I'm checking the surface, I'm checking the depth, I'm checking here, I'm checking the ports. Guys, there are tools that we use. I hate to say this, but you guys are because, again, David flies me around the country and into different places protecting his badge. I won't say probably, for his big races, he brings me in to make sure that things are looked after. The reason I say that is I have more tools than probably anybody else in the world to make sure that it's right. Unfortunately, I live in Reading, not far away, and I'm going to be visiting your track. And it's a reality. These guys and everybody else, and I think you guys are here because you want to do it the right way. It's unfortunate for the people that want to try to roll the dice. It's probably not going to end well. Maybe they might fool a couple of times, but it's going to be discovered. Just because we have more tools than anybody else in the game to make sure it's right. And that's my promise to you, to make sure that when you guys go out there and spend so many dollars, you want to do it right. You want to make sure that it's a level playing field. And that's why I'm here today, because I want that to be as well. I'm not looking for money for this. This is something that I love to do, and Briggs is not paying me to be here or to come to Red Bluff or to Cycle Land. I do it because I love it, and I want you guys to have a good experience, but it has to be something that is repeatable, and it has to be done in a compliant way.